This is one of many sites that we're building. This is Bike Magic.
It all began as an experiment in his brother's bedroom, but now offers consumers information on a range of hobbies, including cycling and sailing.
I mean, Stanford and the surrounding area of the valley is where it's all happening at the moment in terms of the internet. I mean, the companies and the things they're doing over here are 6 months to a year ahead of what we're doing in the UK.
The Internet Conspiracy. Part 1, Origins. For thousands of years, mankind lived disconnected, segmented into small tribes and cities, scattered throughout the earth, and only connected by the sky. War and commerce brought visitors from distant lands, and certain places flourished under the influence of cross-pollinating cultures. Since its humble beginnings, it seemed that civilization had a longing for universal connection. When and how that lasting connection would happen is wilder than any artist or philosopher could have dreamed. It seems the Internet was humanity's destiny. However, the question remains, who was really behind this mind-bending, world-changing new technology? And even though it has done so much good in the world, is it truly designed for our benefit? Is the Internet the greatest invention man has ever conceived? Or is it the ultimate tool to centralize power for those pulling the strings? The official story is that the United States military conceptualized a World Wide Web all the way back in the 1940s, which eventually resulted in the Pentagon creating its Advanced Research Projects Agency network. Some people say that the first functional application of the technology was accidentally discovered by the copy machine company Xerox, who created a network upon which users could access its machines. Apple founder Steve Jobs saw the technology in 1979 and later claimed that this was the original version of the Internet. The Internet we know today operates off of the TCP/IP protocol developed by Vincent Cerf and Robert Kahn while working under a grant from the government, who was interested in the technology. The original system was built in 1974 and operational in 1975 on the campus of Stanford University, a place that would go on to develop several major Internet-based projects with government funding and supervision in the future. It's obvious that the government had a major interest in developing Internet technology. But the real question is, why? Did they ever imagine that it would become a part of the average citizen's everyday life? Or was their interest strictly for the strategic military use of ARPANET technology? Regardless of the initial intent for creating the World Wide Web, the Internet itself has changed the way that governments and militaries do business, just as much as the citizens in their population. It's almost as if the Internet has its own intentions for existing, like some strange organic being, tethered together by the consciousness of the masses. Was the Internet really designed for the convenience of the average man? Or is it a product of the military-industrial complex, designed to implement control over populations? By 1997, the people of the world were coming online at a rapid pace, and up to 35% of households in the United States had a computer with Internet access. Everyone had an email address. Everyone had a new, faster, and more comprehensive way to get global news. Under these conditions, one of the greatest developing economic markets began to take shape. Startup companies like Yahoo and Amazon seemed to pop up overnight, while slowly but surely a counter-economy was being formed. The success of highly publicized IPOs on the NASDAQ fueled the lightning-fast exponential growth of the Internet and related stock prices. These stocks peaked around the year 2001 and then the market crashed temporarily. People were flooding the market, trying to get their piece of the pie. Then, just as soon as it arrived, hundreds of promising companies failed, shut down, and vanished overnight, leaving only a handful of winners. After the bubble, the Internet market maintains slow and steady growth over time. The initial potential of these markets was very tangible. The implementation of the technology and adoption by users and consumers took some time to match the expected demand. Even in its infancy, the Internet was a massive magnet for the flow of goods, services, and resources. Was this part of the reason for its design? Could the powers that be view the Internet as a way to funnel wealth away from the masses? Or had people achieved a new level of economic freedom their ancestors could never dream of? Either way, this networking technology was the biggest advancement civilization had made since the Industrial Revolution. For the first time, the average person could communicate and do business with any other person in the entire world by pressing a few buttons. It may actually be the worst fear of those who seek control, and perhaps they created something they never meant to, by accident. After the dot-com boom, the Internet quieted down for a few years. With streaming technology still being developed slowly and digital downloads of media becoming a new reality for the world, the economy and industries surrounding the Internet were trying to adapt, while the user experience was evolving at the same time. Emails turned into instant messaging. More people were entering into discussions on forums, consuming media and information like never before. And the need for a universal platform began to push web development, marketing, and human interaction in a new direction. Was this an exciting, spontaneous change, or a guided growth into a new paradigm? Was this period a time of organic economic growth? Or were all the major players waiting in the wings to shape the global economic market and new social norms? Though there were early attempts at social media dating back to 1997 and forums were becoming more user-friendly, the social media phenomenon didn't arrive in full force until around the year 2005. At this time, MySpace, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube had hit critical mass and began everyday use for a large part of the population. After these successful pioneers, dozens of niche sites were built around this new demand for community among users and consumers. Though MySpace was extremely successful, it was quickly eclipsed by a new competitor called Facebook as the supreme social media platform online. Facebook practically became the digital identity of the average person. Today, Facebook has more information about the human population than any entity, except for maybe Google. Is this a dangerous amount of information? After all, how much is too much? Though it's hard to say exactly, one thing is for sure. Social media has blurred the lines of privacy and freedom for everyone interacting with it. Though younger demographics gravitate to platforms like Snapchat and Instagram, Facebook is still the center of the social media universe for now, with as many as 78% of adult Americans estimated to be using the platform from their smartphones daily. Is keeping up with what your old friends are doing really worth compromising your personal information? Employers, mortgage lenders, and local authorities all use Facebook to profile individuals, and databases are often created from this information for profit. While you were reposting a funny meme, did you rub your next potential employer the wrong way? As society becomes more politically charged, it's hard to know what's safe to say for sure. Though many people with unique interests are now able to find each other online, many survey studies show the average person is reporting feelings of loneliness and depression more than they did in pre-social media studies. Psychologists and governments haven't taken into account the long-term effects of these platforms on the populations and the potential consequences they could present. Should your social media account come with a disclaimer like pharmaceutical drugs may cause feelings of loneliness, social anxiety, or depression? More importantly, is it possible that the forces behind the creation of social media predicted these effects and built these platforms to keep people isolated by proxy, like window shoppers of their own lives, living vicariously through their photos that depict a perfect, carefree, fun life? Is social media good for humanity? Or is all the novelty and monotony a cover for something much more sinister? Part 2. Mythology. Though we are all familiar with the stories of these social media startups, where did these ideas come from really? Was it some kid at Harvard or MIT with little experience and resources who bootstrapped an idea into a world-changing enterprise? Or are the true origins a lot more interesting? You might be surprised how little we actually know about how we all ended up on social media to begin with. Stanford not only built some of the first computers with internet capabilities, but they were also a huge part of developing ARPANET, and they were the leading force behind hundreds of studies on human behavior and technology that led to the development of cybernetics. This field of study maps out the symbiotic relationship between the human mind and the framework of computing technology. A vast majority of the studies about modern human behavior and the Internet touch the Stanford Research Institute in some way, shape, or form. A more recent study, done in conjunction with NYU, showed that test subjects who quit social media for 1 month's time were much happier for having done so. Many conspiracy theorists also point to the fact that a large part of the technology developed for DARPA has been done by SRI. Could this institution be the real party behind the massive social media takeover of the Internet? Is social media some form of cybernetic control system that the public has no idea about? With all this grant money being supplied to support research, how does the government fit into this equation? The intelligence community has had a vested interest in domestic surveillance since its inception, and if the Snowden leaks are any indication, they would achieve their goal of omnipotence at any cost. So how could the government gain the resources to achieve this goal without voters being involved? In-Q-Tel. In-Q-Tel is a not-for-profit venture capital firm that invests in tech startups for the benefit of the intelligence community. This enables government agencies like the NSA, CIA, and FBI to get their technology implemented into the companies that are shaping our future. Recent reports also indicate that the CIA is using In-Q-Tel to invest in companies that mine tweets and Instagram posts to create an advanced database. The ethical implications of this have yet to be explored in detail. The government's involvement in the Internet and social media technology is indisputable. What we don't know is, what are they planning to do with it next? Do governments have a right to spy on their populations? Or have they overstepped their bounds way too much? Due to the public's awareness of government spying and overreach, watchdog groups do the best they can to prohibit Congress from passing legislation that harms the freedoms of the people. These groups do the best they can to keep up with the onslaught of bills brought before Congress each year. Many times, larger bills that are pushed through Congress go overlooked, This has caused acts which enable international spying through loopholes, like the Cloud Act in the Omnibus Bill of 2018, to go unchecked. Since the dawn of the Internet, many random individuals have taken digital justice into their own hands. These hacktivists have been known to cause problems for major companies by accessing their data via the web. There are often political motives as well as profit behind the hackers' attacks. Though governments commit a vast amount of resources to secure their networks, at times these hacks have led to the disclosure of compromising data about several powerful individuals. In more recent times, a hack of the Democratic National Committee led to a massive scandal involving some very controversial emails. Though no parties involved were charged with a crime, this Pizzagate scandal was a huge topic of conversation among conspiracy theorists. Rumors surrounding these emails involve a secret human trafficking ring in Washington, D.C. Though none of these claims have been verified, no official investigation has ever taken place. Without the Internet, would leaking information like this even be possible? Or are the rumors actually more harmful than good for society? Other activists have tried to use the Internet to distribute critical information to the public. One case of this is Aaron Swartz, a very talented programmer who attempted to upload legal documents from a paid service and distribute them for free online to individuals who couldn't afford to pay for legal representation. The state made an example out of him and put him through insurmountable legal proceedings of his own, which resulted in his apparent suicide. The government does not look kindly on vigilantism, especially when it breaks their rules. There are other examples of hackers who received harsh punishment, but Swartz is particularly interesting because he also used software to coordinate an anti-war initiative based around a potential conflict in Syria. Did this make him an even bigger target for the special interests controlling government? Could his suicide have been a cover-up? Leakers of government information, like WikiLeaks, distribute often classified information about corrupt government activities and have faced relentless persecution. It's safe to say that high-ranking military and intelligence officers view these individuals as strategic threats to their agenda. Though the public seems to support those pushing for transparency, it's hard to tell what they value more, freedom or security. Is it wrong to expose corruption at the expense of strategic government intelligence? Or are some stones better left unturned? Corruption and data manipulation has caused a huge gray area in the private sector as well. Due to the advanced computing power and analysis amassed by big companies, privacy and freedom may be facing a new challenge online. Internet companies like Facebook and Google have gathered a massive amount of data about the individuals that use their services. Though users opt in to having their data gathered as a prerequisite to use the platform these entities provide, some argue these companies have abused this trust to control and manipulate the online community. Shortly after the U.S. presidential election of 2016, a huge investigation was launched against a tech company called Cambridge Analytica. The company, which was apparently under contract with members of the Republican establishment, used what some people might call predatory marketing to combine data with cybernetic analysis to manipulate how users felt about the content and advertisements they were being shown in sequence. Though there is no way to verify that the company brainwashed unsuspecting users, they still manipulated the user experience and violated their privacy to create these complex campaigns. Facebook gives third parties the ability to leverage personal data for targeted advertising. Should it be illegal to try to manipulate elections by the same means supplement companies sell diet pills to overweight potential customers on Facebook? Facebook maintains that this technology and agreement is in place to get the right products to customers who will actually use them and to give users a better overall experience of their platform. Is it possible that this data could be dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands? Intelligence agencies have detailed databases with real-time information on virtually everyone thanks to this technology. That has done little to stop many terrorist attacks and other crimes, but still puts the privacy and security of users in the hands of third parties, for better or worse. Is invasive data-driven advertising and campaigning reasonable and acceptable? Or can these practices be stopped and policed before they have more serious consequences? Another growing threat to the personal privacy and freedom of the average person is the growing world of smart technology. Everyone loves the convenience of a voice-activated lifestyle, but are TVs, smart meters, and other appliances that watch and listen really a good thing? Conspiracy theorists believe these technologies are the first steps to get people to agree to live in a new world of complete surveillance. But isn't transparency a good thing? After all, if you don't do anything wrong, you should have nothing to worry about. The truth is, there is no telling how this level of new information can be managed and utilized by the companies who make them, or the third parties who can gain access to them remotely. Many people get their computer webcams hacked, but what if someone hacked your refrigerator or home heating system? The potential danger of life completely on the grid is very real, yet it hasn't stopped the demand for these new innovations. Many conspiracy theorists are also worried about the coming 5G network, which will take internet and automation capabilities to a drastic new level. The total impact of these technologies on the environment and human immune and nervous system is also a topic for heavy debate. We have seen self-driving cars cost people their lives. Could other smart technologies have the same deadly side effects? How does the Internet of Things really affect our future? The synchronization of our daily habits could take away stress, but it could also take away the little struggles that allow our brain to get better at improvisation and adaptation, essentially turning adults back into children who don't do anything for themselves. The long-term effects of the Internet alone are hard to predict, but an entire world on the network could really go either way. Having our dietary habits, TV watching habits, and other essential information logged on the network is a bizarre and potentially dangerous notion. Do we really know how much of our lives and information is out there? Or have we let this new convenient technology sneak up on us like a technological Trojan horse? Part 3. Legacy. Since there are databases like the Wayback Machine keeping permanent records of every transaction on the Internet, decisions you make there could come back to haunt you at any time. There is an ongoing debate about the civil rights of the Internet user, beyond the terms and conditions they opt into on any given site. The question is, do you have the right to be forgotten? Erasing our digital footprint gets harder and harder as time goes on. So many accounts and passwords to remember. Data is stored on so many servers, and who knows the amount of profit that has been generated by selling your information online. Should you be able to hit a reset button on all of it? After all, everyone deserves a second chance, right? Your digital identity is owned by just about everyone but you. Shouldn't you be the sole profiteer from your own information and resources? This debate about digital sovereignty is very similar to the copyright issue that exploded at the dawn of the Internet. With so much information circulating so many different ways, it's nearly impossible to regulate. Should you have complete control of your data? Or should it remain in databases that get hacked, such as that of major credit card companies? Putting your data in the hands of other parties open you up for all kinds of potential problems. Everything from identity theft to fraud, blackmail could be used against you. Is there any real solution to this growing problem? People within the blockchain technology community have devised a software-based solution where encryption is able to help. The hashing algorithms that are used to your current accounts can be modified and used to store your data on a decentralized database rather than one with a central point of failure. Would the government allow for such technology? Even though consumers would be protected, bad guys would also be harder to catch. We have arrived at a unique point in history where people must decide what is the best way for the digital sum of their lives to be handled. Though the average person isn't currently savvy enough to encrypt their own information, several companies like the Pillar Foundation are trying to make modern-day privacy and data security accessible to all. The integrity of technology has proven spotty throughout recent history, but in theory, these ideas could take the power away from the few who control the many, and according to some, they are being suppressed for this very reason. Should people have the right and the tools to erase their digital footprint? Or are we all destined to live two lives, even one that will shape our legacy well after we are done living? The government's war on terrorism has been the primary tool under which several modern police state-type bills have been passed. Even after the Patriot Acts, the National Defense Authorization Act, and the Cloud Act have taken effect, politically motivated mass shootings and acts of crime still take place in America. At some point, it may be worth raising the question, do these pieces of legislation actually protect the population? Or do they simply open the door to potential abuses of this power in the future? When it comes to the ability to spy and steal data, the cat is already out of the proverbial bag. There is no law that can pass that gets around the privacy liabilities created by our current technology. Even if the government isn't spying on you, someone else can illegally. Does this mean they should be granted the right to spy too? Wiretapping laws and the like may be handy in court once an attacker's computer has been subpoenaed, but by then the damage has already been done. Espionage is simply a part of our new reality, but when it comes to the interests of those in power, should the public give them unlimited resources to do so? Is there any way to prevent mass surveillance, to preserve freedom and privacy? Or is Pandora's box too complex to close now that it has been opened so long? The juxtaposition of progress and freedom is a paradigm that goes back to the era of early industrialization. Influential writers such as William Blake and J.R.R. Tolkien have argued that technology enslaves us into a perpetual system where convenience trumps quality of life. The kind of mind it takes to expertly craft handmade goods is lost to machines that do it slightly more efficiently. Today, our news outlets have become mouthpieces of political ideology, and the fake news era of the internet amplifies this disingenuous experience of reality even more, turning social media outlets into echo chambers for those enslaved by the addictive notifications that keep their minds on repeat like a broken record. Though the internet has introduced millions of people to new ideas, it has produced predictable behavior patterns that the powers that be have been able to capitalize on. There are more conspiracy theorists now than ever before, but they remain locked within the web pages of their own communities, just like everyone else. Technology as a whole has benefited mankind in many ways, But has our dependence on these new inventions become a crutch that keeps us from developing the capacity to solve bigger, less convenient problems? With great innovation comes greater accountability. Mankind must learn this balance or else suffer the consequences. A technocratic dystopia, a nuclear apocalypse. Who knows what other doomsday events could arise without taking a step back and asking the bigger questions. Is scientific discovery and economic efficiency more important than the social consequences it brings? Or do we need to take countermeasures to ensure we are not destroyed by the new experiments of these radical pioneers? Can we use the internet to elevate society into a new era of prosperity? Or has the damage of this brave new world already been done? Decide for yourself. This is only the official story.